You probably wouldn't believe it, but one of the toughest goalies in recent NHL history almost didn't make it. Not because of his play, but because of everything he was dealing with off the ice. Robin Lehner wasn't just facing slap shots and breakaways. He was battling anxiety, addiction, and a mind that wouldn't let him rest. He had the size, the skill, and the reflexes. But deep down, he felt broken. And for a long time, no one knew how close he was to walking away from the game, or worse. But somehow he didn't give in. He fought back. Not just to keep playing, but to survive, and eventually to speak up. And when he finally told the world what he had been hiding for years, it didn't just change his life, it shook the entire league. Because what he said out loud was something hockey had avoided for far too long. His saves became more than just stats. They became a symbol of strength. Behind every glove stop and quiet skate back to the crease was a deeper fight. One that most fans never saw, but one that inspired thousands. So how did Robin Lehner, a goalie on the edge, turn his lowest point into the most powerful chapter of his career? And why did he keep playing when everyone else thought he was finished? To understand how Robin Lehner became one of the NHL's most honest and respected voices, we have to go back to where it all started. Gothenburg, Sweden. He was born into hockey. His father was a goalie coach. Robin had the size, reflexes, and raw skill, but something inside was always off. Pressure felt heavier. Silence felt safer. He wasn't just training for the NHL, he was battling himself. And that battle would soon spill into everything. Robin Lehner was born in Gothenburg, Sweden in 1991, and from the very beginning, the expectations were heavy. His father, Michael Lehner, wasn't just a goalie coach. He was one of the top minds in European goaltending development. He trained elite Swedish goalies like Henrik Lundqvist and was known for his sharp, demanding style. Growing up around that kind of intensity, Robin didn't just learn how to play goal, he was shaped to chase perfection. From a young age, he had everything scouts look for. Big frame, strong reflexes, confident stance. He was reading plays like a veteran before he was even old enough to shave. People saw him as the next great Swedish goalie. And when your dad trains NHL stars and you're already outplaying kids your age, the pressure isn't just external, it lives inside you. Robin felt it every day. But what people couldn't see was the mental weight that came with it. Even as a teenager, he was dealing with severe anxiety. He didn't know exactly what it was at the time. There were sleepless nights, racing thoughts, and feelings of isolation. Even when surrounded by teammates, he would second-guess himself constantly. Not just about a goal he let in, but about everything. And instead of talking to someone about it, he bottled it up. Because in hockey, especially in Europe, admitting you're struggling mentally can be seen as a sign of weakness. That's the last thing Robin wanted to show, especially with a father so respected in the sport. At 17, he made the difficult decision to leave home and move to Canada. He joined the Sault Ste. Marie Greyhounds in the Ontario Hockey League, one of the top junior leagues in North America. For a European goalie, that was a bold move. But Robin Lehner wanted to prove he could adapt to the smaller rinks, faster pace, and more physical game. He had one goal in mind, the NHL. But things got even harder. He was far from home, adjusting to a new culture, trying to improve on the ice, all while quietly spiraling inside. His emotions would swing without warning. He'd have moments of deep fear for no clear reason. Even when he was playing well, he didn't feel stable. And since mental health wasn't something people talked about openly in hockey, he kept everything to himself. Robin Lehner was wearing the mask long before he ever stepped onto NHL ice. He looked like a calm, collected goalie with a bright future. But behind the mask, and behind the eyes, was a teenager silently falling apart. Robin Lehner was drafted 46th overall by the Ottawa Senators in the 2009 NHL draft. He was just 18 years old, the second goalie taken that year, and expectations were high. He joined the organization with a strong reputation after playing in the OHL and even helping Sweden win silver at the World Juniors. Ottawa believed they were getting a future star in net. He worked his way through the system quickly. In 2011, he led the Binghamton Senators, Ottawa's AHL affiliate, to a Calder Cup championship and won the playoff MVP. He was only 19. People thought this was it, the beginning of something big. But while his career was moving forward, everything else in his life was starting to fall apart. The pressure to succeed never stopped. He wanted to be great so badly that every mistake felt like a disaster. Confidence came and went. One night, he looked like an elite NHL goalie. The next, he was rattled and unsure. He was having panic attacks. Sometimes even during games, his heart would race. His thoughts would spin. He felt like he couldn't breathe. But instead of asking for help, he tried to hide it. To quiet the noise in his head, he began self-medicating, first with alcohol, then with sleeping pills and prescription drugs. It wasn't about getting high, it was about trying to feel normal, to feel calm, but nothing worked. His body was hurting too. Hip injuries, back problems, and concussions piled up. He started gaining weight, losing focus, and isolating himself more and more. By the time he was traded to the Buffalo Sabres in 2015, Lehner was completely lost. Ottawa had given up on him, and he was supposed to be Buffalo's new #1 goalie. But just minutes into his very first game with the team, he tore ligaments in his ankle and missed months of the season. Things never got better. He played behind a weak Sabres defense, lost more games than he won, and couldn't escape the spiral he was in mentally. At night, he was drinking heavily. Some mornings, he'd show up to the rink still hungover, but no one asked questions, and he kept pretending he was fine. By 2018, Robin Lehner hit rock bottom. He had a panic attack so severe that he collapsed and was taken to the hospital. That moment scared him more than any goal he ever let in. He realized that if he didn't do something, hockey wouldn't matter anymore, because he might not be alive to play it. For the first time in his life, he reached out for help. It was the hardest decision he ever made, but also the most important. After years of silence, Robin Lehner checked himself into rehab during the 2018 offseason. He was diagnosed with bipolar I disorder, ADHD, and PTSD, diagnoses that finally made sense of the chaos he had been living with for years. For the first time, he had names for what he was feeling, and with professional help, he began learning how to manage his life without alcohol or pills. It wasn't easy, but he was ready to fight. That same summer, he was a free agent. Most NHL teams passed on him. His reputation wasn't great, not because of his skill, but because people didn't know if he could be trusted. Eventually, the New York Islanders gave him a chance. A one-year, $1.5 million contract. No guarantees, no promises, just an opportunity. And for Robin, that was more than enough. And what happened next was something no one could have predicted. Lehner had the best season of his entire career. He shared the crease with Thomas Greiss and helped the Islanders allow the fewest goals in the NHL that year. He posted a .930 save percentage, second best in the league, and recorded 6 shutouts. But it wasn't just his play that stood out, it was his honesty. At the 2019 NHL Awards, Robin stood on stage after winning the Vezina Trophy, awarded to the player who best shows perseverance and dedication to hockey. And instead of giving a generic thank you speech, he told the world exactly what he'd been through. "I'm not ashamed to say I'm mentally ill," he said, "but that doesn't mean I'm mentally weak." In that moment, he shattered a wall that had existed in the NHL for decades. Players weren't supposed to talk about mental health. They were supposed to be warriors. Silent, stoic, unbreakable. Robin changed that, and fans noticed. His honesty made him a fan favorite overnight. Islanders supporters embraced him not just for his saves, but for his courage. He wore special masks to honor mental health awareness. He shared resources online, and most importantly, he became a voice for other players who were struggling but didn't know how to ask for help. For once, he wasn't just surviving, he was thriving. The goalie who once drank to get through the day was now stopping pucks, speaking up, and standing tall. Not because everything was perfect, but because he wasn't hiding anymore. That season didn't just save his career, it changed how the entire league viewed strength, and it proved that sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is tell the truth. When the 2019 Stanley Cup playoffs began, Robin Lehner had nothing to prove, and everything to prove. He had just come off the best regular season of his career, helped the Islanders shock everyone by finishing near the top of the standings, and won over fans with his honesty. But playoff hockey is different, and some people still thought he was just a feel-good story, not a real difference maker. That changed quickly. In round 1, the Islanders faced off against the Pittsburgh Penguins, a team stacked with stars like Sidney Crosby, Evgeny Malkin, and Chris Letang. Most analysts picked Pittsburgh to win, but Robin had other plans. He didn't just hold his own, he stole the show. In Game 1, he stopped 41 of 42 shots in an overtime win. In Game 2, he shut the door again, turning away everything thrown at him. New York would sweep the Penguins in 4 games, and Lehner finished the series with a .956 save percentage. It was domination. For the first time in his NHL career, Robin wasn't just a part of a team's success, he was leading it. His calm presence in net gave the Islanders confidence, and his ability to make clutch saves at key moments became the difference. He looked unstoppable. More importantly, he looked free. Even though the Islanders would eventually fall in round 2 to the Hurricanes, Lehner's message had been sent. This wasn't a goalie who needed help staying in the league. This was a goalie who could win in the playoffs, steal games, and outduel elite scorers. The league saw it, players saw it, coaches saw it. His peers voted him a finalist for the Vezina Trophy, something no one would have believed just a year earlier. Off the ice, fans continued to rally behind him. He signed autographs, posed for pictures, and connected with people on a level few athletes do. People who had never watched hockey before became fans because of Robin Lehner. It wasn't just about the saves anymore. It was about the fight, the comeback, the honesty. And for the first time in his career, Robin wasn't surviving. He was thriving. After such a strong year with the Islanders, it seemed obvious they'd bring Robin Lehner back. But that's not how it went. In the summer of 2019, New York let him walk in free agency. Instead, they signed veteran Semyon Varlamov. Robin was shocked and heartbroken. He had given everything, on and off the ice. But once again, he found himself without a home. The Chicago Blackhawks offered him a one-year, $5 million contract. It wasn't long-term, but it was another chance. Lehner split starts with Corey Crawford and played well, finishing with a .918 save percentage and regularly keeping the Blackhawks in games they had no business winning. But the team wasn't going anywhere that season, and at the trade deadline, they moved him to the Vegas Golden Knights in a 3-team deal. Just like that, he was on the move again. At first, people wondered if he'd even play in Vegas. Marc-Andre Fleury was the face of the franchise, a beloved veteran and a fan favorite. But when the playoffs arrived in the bubble during the pandemic-shortened 2019-20 season, Vegas made a bold decision. They started Robin Lehner, and he delivered. In the playoffs, Lehner was lights out. He posted 3 shutouts, finished with a .917 save percentage, and helped the Golden Knights reach the Western Conference Final. Along the way, he outplayed stars like Patrick Kane, Elias Pettersson, and Bo Horvat. And in a high-pressure environment with every camera on him, Lehner proved, again, that he was a #1 goalie. There were questions. Why not Fleury? Was the team turning on its longtime star? But inside the room, players trusted Lehner. He was quiet, but focused. He didn't seek attention, just results. The organization eventually doubled down, signing him to a 5-year, $25 million extension. They believed in his talent, but more than that, they believed in his resilience. Even with all the bouncing around, Robin Lehner had become something few expected, a calming presence. In the locker room, in interviews, and especially between the pipes. He wasn't just earning starts, he was earning respect. He had gone from unsigned and unwanted to being the backbone of a cup-contending team. And while he didn't lift the trophy that year, he had already won something else, control of his own story. As Robin Lehner's role in Vegas grew, so did the weight on his shoulders. After signing his long-term deal, he was named the full-time starter for the 2020-21 season. But behind the scenes, his body was breaking down. He suffered a concussion mid-season that sidelined him for over a month. When he returned, his performances were solid, but it was clear he wasn't 100%. He battled through it anyway, because that's who he was. Then came the hip injuries. They got worse over time, eventually requiring surgery on both hips. Most goalies would have shut things down much earlier, but Lehner kept playing through pain, doing whatever he could to help the team, even when he couldn't move the way he used to. But it wasn't just physical battles anymore. Robin had also become one of the NHL's loudest voices when it came to off-ice issues. He began calling out the league publicly, criticizing how players with mental health struggles were handled. He talked about the need for more support, more transparency, and less shame around mental illness. He tweeted openly, did interviews, and challenged NHL leadership directly. It made people uncomfortable. Some fans and even media questioned if he was doing too much, being too loud, but Lehner didn't care. He wasn't trying to be liked, he was trying to help. When Jack Eichel was denied a specific surgery by the Sabres, Robin was one of the first players to speak out in support of Eichel's right to make decisions about his own body. It wasn't just about mental health anymore. It was about player rights, safety, and long overdue changes in the league. And even as the backlash came, so did the support. Fans who had gone through their own mental health struggles thanked him. Players, past and present, reached out privately to say, "Thank you." His voice carried weight now, not just as a goalie, but as a person who refused to be silent. By 2022, Robin Lehner's body had taken a beating. He missed the entire 2022-23 NHL season after undergoing double hip surgery. It was a brutal procedure, especially for a goaltender, and most fans assumed that might be the end. After all the battles he'd already fought, how could he come back from this? But if there's one thing everyone should know by now, it's that Robin Lehner doesn't quit. Even while recovering from surgery, he didn't disappear. He stayed connected to fans. He kept speaking out about mental health. And then, quietly, something else happened. He started skating again. Videos popped up of Lehner back on the ice, working through drills, rehabbing, and getting his legs under him. It wasn't flashy. He didn't make any big announcements. But the message was clear. He wasn't done, despite missing 2 full seasons, despite people writing him off, despite everything that had happened off the ice. Robin Lehner was still fighting to return, not for attention, not for contract, but because that's who he is. Some players play for records, some play for fame. Robin Lehner plays to prove, to himself and to others, that no matter how many times life knocks you down, there's always a way back. In the beginning, people saw Robin Lehner as a risk, a broken goalie with baggage. But that label didn't define him, it fueled him, because his story was never really about stats, awards, or win-loss records. It was about something bigger. It was about honesty in a sport that teaches you to keep everything inside. It was about showing the hockey world that real strength doesn't always come from hiding pain. Sometimes, it comes from facing it head-on. Robin Lehner changed the conversation. He made space for vulnerability in a league built on toughness. And even if he never plays another NHL game, his legacy is already set. He helped break the silence. He helped save lives. He's not just a goalie, he's a survivor. And the truth is, being broken wasn't the end of his story. It was the reason his story mattered in the first place. Let me know below. Does Robin Lehner deserve a spot among the most inspiring goalies in NHL history? I'd love to hear what you think. If you enjoyed this story, make sure to like the video and subscribe for more powerful hockey stories every week. And if you thought Lehner's journey was emotional, wait until you hear about Börje Salming, the Swedish legend once called too soft for the NHL, who ended up changing the league forever. Click the video on your screen to watch how a too soft European changed NHL forever.